Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Rugby NorCal podcast. I'm your host, Nate Delana. Welcome back. It's 2026. We're out here. Got some new digs back here. Not too shabby. If you like it, let me know in the comments. If I need to make some changes, also let me know in the podcast. I know we're doing this on video now, and so make sure you're checking us out on YouTube. And I wanted to do some decoration in the back there. But Happy New Year. We're in it. We're in the middle of the season now. Our youth season has begun. But that doesn't mean the Rugby NorCal podcast stops. We're here today with UC Santa Cruz, Jeremy and Jackson. Jeremy's the head coach. He's been there for 18 years. Jackson is a former player of UC Santa Cruz, now plays for the Chicago Hounds and MLR. Great conversations, a great coach, great player. MBRA, which is the Monterey Bay Rugby Association, is also ran by Jeremy and has a connection to UC Santa Cruz. And so what you're looking at right now is a program that goes all the way from down from youth into the university level. And I think it's really providing a lot of really cool opportunities for players within Rugby NorCal. So it's really valuable for you to listen. Before we get into the podcast, though, we'll get into our sponsors. First sponsor is World Rugby Shop. It's rugby season, so you got to be going to worldrugbyshop.com. Your kit might be from World Rugby Shop. The balls that you're using in practice might be from World Rugby Shop. Six Nations is right around the corner. They always have fan gear as well. So head on over to worldrugbyshop.com. Check it out. They support us. They've been supporting us forever, and so we want to support them as well. They've been super helpful to allow us to do what we can do in NorCal. And so they're just a phenomenal partner, and we're super juiced to, for them to be involved per usual. Next is Next Phase Rugby. You'll actually hear about Next Phase Rugby in this podcast. UC Santa Cruz uses Next Phase Rugby very well to recruit their players for the seasons, and they're really excited about the last couple classes that they've had and who they've been able to recruit through Next Phase Rugby. And so what you can do is head on over to nextphaserugby.com, create a profile, get recruited to play rugby at the university level. And you can use the promo code NorCal, capital NOR, capital CAL, NorCal, to get a discount on the membership that they have there. There's a free account that you can have, but there's a paid one. So if you use that promo code NorCal, you can get a discount on that paid membership. Next, Irish Rugby Tours. Irish Rugby Tours is our partnership for just rugby tours around the world, right? Within Rugby NorCal. A lot of our clubs use Irish Rugby Tours already. And Irish Rugby Tours was what was used when I went on tour back when I was in college and at the university level, being able to tour Italy and Ireland. And this is something that I think every club should consider going on tour in some way, shape, and form. Irish Rugby Tours can, send you anywhere in the world. But what they do really helps cement what makes rugby different, right? There is not that many sports out there where you can go tour another country, go and still get that same rugby culture that we all know and love. And I think when a parent or when players or when your club goes on tour, it just creates more of a bond and more of a community that your players can look back on. I think it just helps everyone in general just dive into rugby even more. And so head on over to irishrugbytours.com and check them out. Talk to George and the team over there. They are fantastic, and they've been doing it for a long time. So they really know how to do everything and how to do it right. And then finally, VO. VO is our AI camera software and product company. They record games using their AI video cameras. The best thing that I love about VO is that after the games are completed, I upload it into our system, and all of the games are tagged. So all the scrums, all the lineouts, all the tries, all the penalties, all those movements are already tagged when I get into the game. And so I don't have to go through, tag everything, and figure out what my team needs to work on. I can just pop right in, and I've already got everything I need to, analyze the video and make my team better. So vo.co is the website you go to, vo.co, to check out the VO cameras. They just came out with a VO Cam 3, and they also have some more cost-effective options now as well. And so vo.co, go ahead and check out that sponsor today. All right. Well, hey, let's get into the podcast here with UC Santa Cruz with Jeremy and Jackson. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rugby NorCal podcast. Happy New Year. Is it too late to say that yet? It might be. We're at the end of January, but hope the New Year is treating everybody well. And I have got Jeremy and Jackson from UC Santa Cruz here today. Super excited to meet with both of them, talk to them about UC Santa Cruz as a program. We actually have a lot of club leadership in Rugby NorCal that went to UC Santa Cruz, which is pretty cool. And so I'm juiced to get these two on the podcast today and talk about the program and a little bit about what rugby's like over in that area. Jeremy, Jackson, hello.
Hey, thanks so much for having us. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, Nate, appreciate it.
So I'm juiced for sure. I always love, hearing about players from NorCal that have gone on and done big things. And Jackson, obviously, like you're one of those, right? Oakland-born player, went to UCSC. Now we're playing for MLR with Chicago. I am like super juiced to see that kind of growth, right? Especially with players in Northern California, and definitely, certainly, like a different track than like what you usually see, right? And so it's awesome
Yeah.
to see players going to different programs and still having the success that you would want to in being a professional. So, but before we get into all of your professional life, I want to know, Jackson, where did you play rugby for the first time, and how was that first experience?
I played rugby for the first time my freshman year of high school. I went to Terra. I moved around the Bay a lot when I was young, and I went to Terra Linda High School, and our closest club was the Marin Highlanders.
Okay.
And a lot of my football buddies were trying to get me to come out. And I was saying, no, I'm going to do wrestling. Like, I think it's the best thing for me. And then I went to wrestling and I lost 10 pounds in the first like 2 weeks. And I was like, this is not good for football. It's not good for my career. And I went out to one rugby practice, and then I played my first game that weekend against La Marinda,
Uh-huh.
and never looked back, man. I loved it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Two, I mean, just storied clubs, right? Within Rugby NorCal
Yeah.
there, Marin and La Marinda. I mean, shoot, those two clubs have been around forever. And so just an awesome
Yeah.
first rugby experience, I'm sure. You caught it late though. So you caught it when you were in high school already, right? And it was something that you probably, I'm guessing, like football a lot, looking for something to do in the off season. Was that like the draw?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I started playing and I was like, wow, I can like I played both ways in football. And, obviously you go offense to defense, defense to offense, but rugby you could just do it all at all
Hmm.
times. And I mean, it was just a huge draw for me. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Mm. And what position were you in football?
Running back, middle linebacker.
Oh, the best. They make the best
Yeah.
rugby players, don't they? My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, pretty
Running backs
much.
who play middle linebacker or middle linebackers who play rugby. You gotta love that. You gotta love
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Did you move right into like what position did they put you in right when you got in? Like when your first days, were you playing the forwards? Were you playing the backs? How did that go?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, I was actually I played JV my first year, and the JV team was pretty rough. We had really low numbers, so I actually played loose head prop in my
Hmm.
first game, and still scored two tries though, no big deal
Let's
at
go.
loose head prop. So may have knocked the second one on for sure, but the ref didn't see it. But yeah, I played loose head prop and then quickly transitioned to open side flanker.
Mm, awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I mean, that track is, I mean, that tracks certainly. And I think there's a lot of people, a lot of players in Rugby NorCal that, have that kind of first experience as well, especially with all the single schools that are now happening in Rugby NorCal. We've got a ton of kids that I think are finding it when they're freshmen. And I think what's cool is that, it still rings true that you can find a sport when you're in high school and then go play it professionally. I'm a huge multi-sport athlete kind of guy. I love talking about that kind of stuff. I love when players are playing multiple sports, and so I think that's just a great story for you, certainly. But before we get too long down in there, Jeremy, you and I have been working together a lot. You've got MBRA, right? Monterey Bay Rugby Association, which is the youth portion. You're the head coach at UC Santa Cruz. How did you get into it? When did you start? I've always been curious about that. I've never asked.
Yeah, I picked it up late in university, so it was super atypical. I was a basketball player primarily,
Huh.
and then as a kid, I played ran track and soccer and basketball, and then got to university and was really just doing school, playing pickup basketball, and working in a lab. And a new molecular biology lab showed up on campus. That lab had two grad students in it, both of which were rugby players coming from Illinois. They found the nearest men's club and then just said, you look like you could be big and athletic, so you should try rugby. And it's pretty much the story of, I think, a lot of people back in the 90s. You get sort of profiled, and then I think the thing that helped me was that one of the guys was really strong in Olympic weight training, and he kind of
Mhm.
took one look at me and said, "You're not going to play until you spend the next 6 months in the gym." And so I went from basically the spring until the fall in the gym, and sort of transformed my body a bit, and then started playing second row, and that was it. I moved to Scotland after graduate school, played there for 5 years, became a club captain. That was sort of like my higher education in rugby. And
Mhm.
then, when I moved back to the States, I was in Indianapolis briefly, and I kind of thought rugby was done for me. And then when I got the chance to move my lab and my professorship to Santa Cruz, I knew right away that there was a rugby pitch there. And, I could actually, as I was first day on campus, I'm driving around and I could see the posts sticking up over a hill. And I had to hunt around to find that field. And then when I did, I was just in love, and it just became, how can we drive this program as far as we possibly can?
Certainly, certainly. I had no idea that you played in Scotland as well. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal. That
Yeah.
is talk about a master's degree or a doctorate degree in rugby, right? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was nuts. It was like 30, 35 matches a year, touring, all that kind of stuff. It was the first time that I'd played in any kind of systems level rugby, and it wasn't 1-3-3-1 or 2-4-2 or things like that. But it was really fun, and it the way we played our attacking system allowed me to start to see the game. I knew that I didn't have to chase the ball. It wasn't that attritional style of play that
Hmm.
was big in the '90s here. And so I found that I sort of learned the flow, learned when I could be effective, and I think I had a great time playing that kind of rugby, and that's the type of rugby I wanted to bring here. A little bit more system oriented, and it's
Hmm.
less of that attritional stuff, and I think it's been going ever since.
Hmm. Hmm. So you get to UC Santa Cruz, yeah. And for people who don't know, it's your biology professor, right?
Yeah,
Correct?
professor of molecular biology,
The the
chair of my department, and then also for the juniors out there, I'm on the committee for admissions and financial aid. So I now know how the sausage is made at all levels. So
So we've got a couple great things here. Love
yeah,
hearing that we have an understanding on the financial aid and how that works at UC Santa Cruz for sure. But it is true that you can be a molecular biologist and a rugby player at the same time. We could say that.
yeah. My club in Edinburgh Northern. At one point, we had 7 PhDs in the team. So I wouldn't say we won a lot of games all the time,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say
it was pretty smart.
not a very good team, I'm guessing.
No, no, we were playing good. We were playing good. So, but I think I've heard a lot of guys say to me that rugby is the intellectual's blood sport. So,
Mhm.
I think there's a you got to be smart. I mean, I think it was uh, Clive Woodward who said most important part of a rugby player is the top 5%. Right.
Mhm.
So I think that says it all. It's a thinking man's game, and I think, or woman's game too, and I think that's a really key part of it.
Yeah, I think, especially when I first got into it, right, you don't really think about, well, you don't understand all of the thinking that needs to occur, right?
Yep.
Especially when,
Yep.
like, for me and Jackson, I don't know if you experienced this as well when you started playing, but when you go in as a forward, it's like you got one job, you listen to the 9 or the 10, and then you just go and you get what you want, which is the contact part, right? Which is what
Yeah.
all the forwards like, right?
Yeah.
And so like that, but once you get into it and you're watching it a lot or you're in it a lot, and especially for me, once I started coaching it, it's like, oh, wow, it's a whole different type of thing that, you're really trying to do on the field, right? Um, I'm curious, Jackson, when you went from high school to UCSC or UCSC to the American Raptors first, like was the intellectual jump harder or was the physical jump harder? Like what was the biggest what was your biggest learning curve once you got to those higher levels?
That's a good question. Yeah, definitely the learning part. I mean, it's a huge physical jump, obviously, and you have to like upgrade, the way you train yourself so much. That was always my strength, was just being like a very physical player, and I was really good with ball in hand. I mean, not so much passing the ball, but
Hmm.
running the ball and tackling and stuff like that. So that's still, the strength of my game. But yeah, without a doubt, like once you get to the next level, you have to kind of learn how to be more a multidimensional player, or else you're not going to play. So, and especially me, I went from 8 man for all 4 years of college to hooker because I'm 5'8", so
Mhm.
couldn't play 8 man at the next level, unfortunately. But it was a huge, like, the skill of throwing and scrumming is just, I mean, you can't know enough about it. So
Mhm.
I mean, it was really challenging for me at first, and it's still a challenge to compete with a lot of the guys that have been throwing since they were like, 12 years old,
Yeah.
since before I was even starting to play rugby. So yeah, definitely the intellectual bit, and then just like the micro skills where you have to up your game like so heavily.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I love what I love to hear is that you can still play, at 5'8", right, and be able to still get in and be a professional and play the
Oh
right
yeah.
way. Obviously, you have to play big and you have to get after it. But I mean, that is something that I love the most about this game is that it doesn't really matter, who you are or what you're born with, right? If you want to get out there and go, you're going to be able to get it done, without a doubt. And so that's great to hear. But yeah, going from 8 man to hooker, it's such a unique position, the hooker position, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think what behooves a lot of athletes or a lot of 8 men or a lot of people that have played that kind of thing for a long time is that like the front row and everything now is a lot more like you have to be, well-rounded. You have to be able to pass catch. You have to be able to do everything. You have to be able to get around, especially if you're running, a 1-3-3-1 or you end up in the back line in some way, shape, and form, right? Like you have to be able to just be a versatile player, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, I think people get caught up a little bit too much in like trying to strengthen, like it's going to sound kind of weird, but strengthen what they're not good at. Like you need to work on obviously your weaknesses in your game, but like the more you can lean into your actual strengths in the game, like that's that's why you got to where you are. And I think like more people need to lean into like what they're actually good at because it'll take them farther. If you
Yeah.
stray away from what you're good at, like then they didn't recruit you for what you're not good at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, double down on your strengths, triple down on your strengths, right?
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I'm totally with you on that. Jeremy, just as a to dovetail on that for Santa Cruz, how is your maybe how is your practices or how have your training sessions evolved over the last I don't know since the
Eight,
beginning? It's
18
like
years.
18 years, right?
Uh,
From what rugby used to be to what rugby is now. Like, how are you fostering that multidimensional athlete?
I mean, we're lucky. Like this, we've got a lot of great coaching mentors, and they've helped to build our coaching philosophy over a number of years. And so those collaborations look like we had a partnership with the Bay of Plenty Rugby Union. We were mentored up by Rodney Gibbs, Clayton McMillan, and they really transformed me from a rugby player teaching guys to play rugby the way I played to understanding skills, systems, mindset. How important if you want to play systems level rugby, you got to build the skills and decision making and the mindset into those systems, or sorry, into those sessions. And I think so that's a big part. So I think it's really changed from kind of you know thinking about what made me a rugby player, what were my strengths, how can I communicate that to then this sort of skill systems mindset approach. That's the big thing. I think Jackson was, he came to us at the exact right time. We'd been on that path for about 3 or 4 years with the Bay of Plenty. And when he came in, he was obviously like a tremendous athlete, had an amazing step, and off the back of the scrum, he was lethal. Um, and I think being able to help build that decision making process into him, turning him into from a strike runner to a playmaker. He got just as good at putting his teammates through holes as he was at finding them himself. I would say, pretty much. So,
Not
it
better.
was
That wasn't excellent.
yeah, but he came to us right at the exact right time, and I think was really a key part of us, solidifying that trust the process, process oriented goals, and then that skill system mindset approach. And so I think that was excellent. Yeah, I think basically rugby is a great game because you're always working on something. I think our team, our systems, what we're up to, it's been a constant evolution at UC Santa Cruz. I would say, like, from a, if I put my professor hat back on, the rugby team is really paralleling the university. We were the first intercollegiate sport, just like at UC Berkeley, but this is, Santa Cruz was founded in '65, rugby was in '67.
Mhm.
So as the university has been evolving, so too is the rugby. And it's gone through ups and downs. But what I'd say about the rugby is that we're definitely not, at a finishing point. We are really developing well. And just like the university, we're not where we started. We're now a R1, American Association Universities research powerful campus. And I think
Mhm.
where we're going to finish is going to look very different than where we are today. And I think that's true for the rugby. So I feel like we're constantly evolving. We're not satisfied with where we're at, what we're doing, and we're constantly bringing people in and trying to build out and build up our expertise. And so I think it's just a continuous labor of love, really.
Yeah, and it seems like, and for those of you watching on YouTube, Jeremy's got the field behind you there, which I've played at, and it's one of the most beautiful places to play rugby in the country, without a doubt, right? Without a doubt. And so I think the fact that there is, this mindset of growth, right? This mindset of, wanting to get better, right? You're in the hotbed of rugby in the country in Northern California, right?
Yeah.
And plus the school is, the universities is incredible. Like it really is it comes with like you have all the ingredients to being an incredible program. Plus you play in the best, conference in the country, D1A, right?
Yeah,
And so
100%.
yeah, so we're getting. I mean, we're talking about a legit program here, doing really legit things. I am interested about the campus is certainly a unique culture, right? And rugby is certainly a unique culture as well. I wonder if is there any sort of like melding or any like what is the culture of UCSC rugby, right? And how does the culture of the campus also fit in there?
Jackson, you want to take that one?
Yeah, yeah, it's unique, right? Because we have collegiate sports on campus, but they're all D3,
Hmm.
so they're all varsity sports, NCAA sports. But we are a higher, we compete at a higher level.
Hmm.
So it's an interesting culture where we're kind of like we're we're combining a very advanced, program with sort of grassroots levels of excuse me, we have to do our own fundraising. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
We have to create everything that we want is created by us. You know what I mean? The university doesn't, it helps us with a small amount, but it hasn't, we're not fully funded like a varsity program would be.
Hmm.
So it creates a unique culture of athletes that, kind of come from nothing and become something in
Hmm.
terms of their athletic careers, which is really cool to see. And then we also, it's a weird town. You know what I mean? It brings out like I love Santa Cruz. I'd like to move back there, whenever I retire. But it brings out really interesting people, and I think yeah, our culture as a team was always unique to that of other teams, and just the acceptedness, but also like a unique competitiveness from a university that's mostly focused on research. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but
No,
that's how I felt while I was there.
no,
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I was just going to piggyback on that a little bit. I think there's two other things that I love about our culture. One is that it's really rugby is an inclusive sport. Like you said, it's a game for all shapes, all sizes, um, and you're constantly profiling people, trying to get kids to come out and check it out. I think I would say our culture is all about growing the game. We've got both the men and the women's team under one big coaching umbrella. There's, I don't know, 60 or so registered men. There's 65, 67 registered women. You're talking about over 120 student athletes. And, what I love about that group is that there's kids who've come from really great sporting backgrounds. We've got a lot of kids who played really excellent high school rugby from programs that you'd heard of, a lot of Southern California kids. And then at the same time, we've got kids who are really new to the game. Some kids who never played a team sport before, some who have never even played a contact sport of any kind. And so, and almost you look at them and you think, oh, maybe you missed the chess team was over there or something. But they come out and they fall in love with the game the same way that all of us did. And those kids, they may not be destined for MLR or even our first 15, but those kids stick with it for 4 years. They fall in love with the game. They go out, they join their local rugby teams. They become referees. They become coaches. I really feel that's a big piece of it, is like showing kids how great this game is at whatever level you can play it at, and then trying to continue to build out that foundation. And so I'm just as proud of the kids who maybe they didn't get a start in the California Conference, but they played all 4 years, go on, keep playing. And I think that's as important as guys like Jackson is for us. So I think that's a big part of our culture. I think the other bit is like, this is something that we sort of picked up. You're always looking for what's your identity as a team. So I think, it's no surprise that we're the Banana Slugs, the best mascot in the world.
Mhm.
I found, that was there are a lot of origin stories for that, but it's the rugby team that came up with that first. There's a good backstory behind it that I won't get into, but the key with that is that there's a banana slug identity, mentality, right? You're kind of a gritty bottom dweller, foraging, working hard, not scared to muck it up, get dirty and stuff. So I think, you got to have that gritty underdog mentality if you want to be a banana slug. And, we're going to go compete against St. Mary's and Cal Poly and UCLA. And you might get stepped on once in a while, but you're going to keep grinding and grinding. And eventually that slug is going to catch up with you. And I think that's like, there's that snail of death, right? That's supposed to track you down.
Yeah.
You never stop
Yeah.
it. So I think that's us,
Yeah.
right? We're grinding away. So
Yeah,
I
we'll
feel like
get you eventually.
I feel like that's part of our identity, so.
It's beautiful. And what I really like to hear about really is the community that you're building, right? And the community that you have, right? I think the strongest collegiate and university clubs in the country all have legit alumni that are trying to support it, right? And from what I can see online and from what I see that you guys do, it's like you guys are building that. And it comes from just what you said, right? You're going to produce your high level players that, are able to go and play for a really long time or go play in these places or that places or go play for high performance teams. But there's also the community part of players that come in that want to be a part of something, right? And want to latch onto something that's good, and we all as rugby guys, we love the game, right? We love rugby, and the hidden part until you get into it is the community part, right? And so as you're
Yeah.
building a bigger community, as you're building more success in whatever you define as success, whether it's playing for the first 15 or being on the team, right? That builds community, that builds alumni, that builds a program, and that builds, escalation into success, right? So,
Yeah.
no, I'm totally, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm totally with that, certainly.
I think one of the
Yeah, I
really
mean,
cool things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jackson. I know where you're going with this.
oh, just the alumni, I mean, the alumni have really taken off this year.
Mhm.
They've always been extremely supportive and the reason that we've stayed a program, but I mean, we're like I'm a part of a team of alumni that meets like every 2 weeks. We'll meet later tonight actually.
Mhm.
And we've already managed to like you've probably seen online we have a formal website now. I
Mhm.
mean, we built out a mentorship program so that every student is paired with a couple of alumni and they're working on, their business development, their athletic development, whatever they want. Yeah, and we're really working on getting our status as a program sort of uplifted. I'm not sure if you saw that Arizona became a high performance club,
Mhm.
and I think that model would be a really good model for us. Or, you know, if they're willing to make us a varsity program, that'd be excellent. But I think the high performance model is a really good one, especially for men's rugby. And we're just getting started, so it's really exciting that the alumni are getting so into it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, Jason at Motherload has talked to me quite a bit as well. Shout out Jason. Big fan of what he's doing and Neil are doing over at the Motherload Rugby Club after they've taken over the last couple of years. And we were at the Rugby Development Summit a couple of weeks here, in October, and we talked a good amount about slug rugby and what it was like over there. And so, when you have that alumni base, it just allows because just to go back to what you said, there's so many different types of rugby clubs across the country. There's so many different types of of what makes those rugby clubs them, right? Their identity, right? The ones that I see that have the most success in however they define their success is the ones with a community of people and alumni board around them that is helping, right? And that is giving back,
Yeah.
right? I
Yep.
know the St. Mary's, alumni group helped me a lot. I think there's a lot of the best thing about rugby in general is just that is the community that you create and the alumni that can help you get to where you want to go, right?
Yeah.
Just in general. So it's beautiful to hear that. And Jeremy, I think you wanted to say something about that. Sorry.
Oh no, just that. I mean, it's wild that we've got a great. I mean, the alumni group is amazing, and we're really connected. It all started with us connecting to the first graduating class, those
Mhm.
pioneer slugs back in the day. And one of the key guys there was Dan Porter. He was a
Yep.
really instrumental student at UCSC for starting the club, and then he continued in rugby for quite a long time. He coached with Jack Clark. He coached with the national team. Studied in Randwick. Did a lot of early tactical backline kind of development stuff that I think he brought those innovations here and worked with some great coaches and some great programs. And when he passed away in sort of the 2011, 12, somewhere around there, all those guys came back, and so that's how we got connected to them. And that really began to build out that alumni group. The team came up, we sang songs, we did all of that. And when the guys, the old boys heard sort of what kids are paying for tuition now and what they even were at the time for dues were paying to play, they said, look, we weren't even paying, we were paying less in tuition than you guys are paying to play rugby. And so they just immediately wanted to honor Dan and set up an endowment and then started kicking into our operating budget. And it's really just grown from there. And
Mhm.
now a bunch of those guys, they're some of the biggest donors to the campus, and they're on the board of trustees. And so we've got, I think, a lot of, demonstrated how rugby can have a big influence both on and off the pitch at Santa Cruz. And so, but this alumni group, especially, we call it the Black and Gold Society, because back in the day when the team was
Mhm.
founded, we played in black and gold up until our 50th anniversary. That's a different story about why that change happened. But
Mhm.
the guys back in the late 60s, they kind of thought, well, hey, look, Cal's been around for 80 years and UCLA has been around for 75 years. Um, it's we're kind of the black sheep right now in the 60s, and so they came out black and gold and tried to represent. And some of the stories I heard from back in those days were that Cal would say things like, looks like you brought a track team to a rugby game and stuff like that. And so I think they definitely had this sort of anti-establishment, anti-authority kind of mindset to them. But black and gold was our color for a long time. So we've stuck with this black and gold theme as the alumni society, and it's really grown. I mean, there's hundreds of people involved, and the outreach is amazing. So, and this mentoring framework that Jackson's really helped to build out, along with some of our other alums, it's really going to have an impact on the kids going forward, give them a leg up in business and in their careers post rugby.
Mhm. And that's, I think, one of the most important parts, right, is being able to create that end result of, or at least that helping people get into the world, right, which is
Oh yeah.
super important.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. What's as a little bit of just an understanding of what like a normal practice week looks like for a player, right, men's or women's.
Yeah, it's the same. So right now, 2 gym sessions a week. Men are Monday, Wednesday. Women are Tuesday, Thursday. It's about an hour. Full teams in there. Monday nights classroom session. Both teams meet separately from 7 to 8, 8:30, depends on what's on the agenda. And then training sessions are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for anywhere between 90 minutes to 2 hours. So you're talking about, for a typical student athlete, it's a good 20 hours, 16 to 20 hours a week in terms of work. And then they're really responsible for the nutrition and for their rehab and recovery work, and to see the trainer and things like that. I would say that, like, right now, in our current sort of framework, we're really lucky to have amazing support from our athletics director and from our sports club directors. They've made it possible for us to get in the gym, to get access to S&C help from some of their coaches. They've really done a lot to make sure that the kids have good access to our training staff, and that training staff is communicating with the coaches about return to play and things like that. So I feel like right now, from an administrative standpoint, the teams are really well supported, and there's just nothing but collaboration. That said, it's like, this is the current athletics director is, I think, my 11th or 12th or something in 18 years. So, I'm just going to ride this wave while we can. But to the guys who are supporting us, Chris Spells and Dylan Thompson and a few others, Kayla, it's really amazing to have those guys have our backs. And right now the facilities are just we're in our Lower East Field, posts are up, field's in immaculate shape, and lights are in the right places, and we're it just couldn't be better. So it's really awesome.
It's incredible. That's great.
Yeah.
And then what, Jackson, when you were in, your senior year of high school, take it all the way back then, what attracted you the most about UC Santa Cruz?
Oh, well, UC Santa Cruz was to be honest, the only UC that I got into. So
Uh,
it was the best education that I could get. And I reached out to pretty much all of the schools that I had applied for, and saw, tried to see what their rugby program was like, and Jeremy was the most responsive for sure. He pretty much got back to me immediately, and I got into UC Santa Cruz actually off the wait list, so I barely even got into Santa Cruz, but yeah, I had visited the university, and it was like, it was the most beautiful campus without them having to really do much to it. Like a lot of campuses, spend a lot on making their campuses look good, and Santa Cruz, I'm sure, does as well, but they don't really have to because they're built into the mountains and the redwoods. You can barely see it from the town. So, I mean, it was just beautiful, and the program was in great shape. We had sides my freshman year, COVID. We took a little hit just like everybody else, but yeah, it was in great shape. It's even better now. So yeah, that's what attracted me to
not
it.
what and this will be our next phase question, our next phase rugby question of the day. Jeremy, what kind of players are you looking for in what kind of mindset or anything like that? I'd love to hear about from a recruiting aspect, what kind of players you want to come to UC Santa Cruz. What should they expect?
Yeah, I mean, so
Really?
next phase is a really big part of what we do. And
Okay.
so, I think it's been that platform is really outstanding. I think for me, I have to, download each class. I do, pretty much every spring once we get into a new recruiting cycle, and I filter it based on GPA. I mean, the fact is that I've got to find kids who are, 3.5 and above, and really what we're looking for are those guys who are sort of really 3.8 to 4.4. And that's not as big a pool as you'd think. I mean, it's big, but it's finding those folks. And so I'm not really that picky. So I'm looking for intelligent rugby players, guys that are committed. I think those kids, they show that they can balance their academics and their rugby. If you're playing era and you're playing high level club rugby, and you've got a 4.0, you're going to be really, really successful at UC Santa Cruz.
Hmm.
Um, I think, it's a pretty heavy workload here. On top of all that rugby, you're talking about a 15-unit course load. That's technically 35 hours a week in the classroom and outside if you're expecting to get an A. And I think, so that for us, that's our full-time job. Like, guys at school first and then fill in the rest of it. And so I need people who can balance that academic and rugby demand. And I think, finding those kids with those strong GPAs is a big piece. So we start off with a list of probably about 150 to 160 kids who meet those criteria. And then just start reaching out, texts, emails, things like that. And then eventually we find the kids who this place resonates with. I mean, UCSC isn't for everybody, but I mean, for the people who like that kind of that redwood environment, the coast, the different climates that we offer on this campus, I think it really resonates. My daughter is a senior in high school, so I've been going and touring all the UCs as well, and I realize how different, how special UC Santa Cruz is. So I'm starting to see it through all those guys' eyes. But really, it's a big funnel, and so I'm not too picky. I
Hmm.
think one of the things we prize is versatility. We've got guys who've graduated playing fullback, 10, second row, fly half, etc. And so I think the more versatility, the better. I love, center, hooker, flankers. Those
Hmm.
kinds of guys are worth their weight in gold. So um, we definitely are excited about trying to find some some type 5 boys. We got to get bigger. That's one of the things we're learning about D1A is, the size is really important. So looking for some type 5 players as well as a lot of decision makers and athletes. I think really it just comes down to not super fussy, but we want to get after it.
Yeah.
We need guys who are smart and have a good level of rugby IQ and stuff.
And gritty players.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Guys are
Yeah,
grit.
there's sometimes like you get those atmospheric rivers that come through, and our field it's all natural. Both the places we train are natural grass, and so sometimes it'll get flooded out. There's not that anything you can do. You get 12 inches of rain. What are you going to do? So then we're off and we're training at Cabrillo College, which is a schlep across town. That adds extra time and commitment onto the training week. But guys, they don't miss a session. They get their work in the classroom, and that's just a little bit of extra grittiness that you have to have sometimes. And so we're always working on that kind of improvise, adapt, overcome mindset.
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
I just to add on, I was a business major and it was not hard for me to balance my class in rugby. It was mostly rugby. So
Mhm.
there's room for both.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, that's great to hear. And so, it sounds like really, you've got the facilities, right? You've got the facilities, you've got the coaching. You're playing in the most competitive league in the country, right? And you have the alumni and everything to kind of back it all up. It seems like UC Santa Cruz, will be able to, really grow, right, over the next, as you continue to move through D1A and as we continue to get more players from Northern California there. So I think it just
Yeah,
makes a ton of sense. It seems like the best way to get in contact, slugrugby.com. Is that correct? Is there any way
that's
to, is there any like emails or anything that they should hit if someone is interested in the program? And it sounds like next phase is something they should also be on too if you want to be a recruit.
Yeah, I love that. I think the next phase really helps. I think anyone, I'm easy to find. If you just type my name in and UCSC, you're gonna get my faculty page, and anyone can email me from there and just put rugby in the subject. I'm always, like Jackson said, pretty quick to respond. So I think one of the key things that has been interesting is like we've been on this developmental path for a long time. We went from sort of a
Mhm.
NorCal D2 Division One AA. Jackson got here as a freshman. We're in D1A and we're starting to push towards the top, or D1 AA, pushing towards the top of that competition. And that was excellent. And then in senior year, we knew that he made no bones about it. He wanted to be a professional rugby player. He was really focused, and so we just thought, look, we've got a strong team. We've got a great culture. Tim O'Brien reached out, and I should say Tim's another one of these coaching mentors. And
Yeah.
he's been awesome. Jack Clark's been awesome. Chris O'Brien, Neil Foot, all these guys. It makes this D1A coaching environment super collaborative. But he reached out that going into Jackson's senior season and said, you guys should really consider moving up. We need some more teams. You've got the right culture. And I sort of thought about it and scratched my head and said, well, maybe we're not quite ready yet. But then at the same time, we had a strong team, and we knew if Jackson wanted to follow his path, it was going to be play against the best competition you can find. If he stands out, great. And then the kind of hypothesis that we wanted to test was this idea that if if the season goes pretty well, we could compete, and we did. We got a couple wins, we hung in a couple games. We didn't get blown off the park. We kind of felt like we're going to be able to start reaching out to some of these juniors, and those kids are going to get Santa Cruz as, hey, I could play my rugby there. That's a great school. They'll probably accept me, and we'll see a pretty good incoming class in the fall of 2024. The catch was that we knew that the season after Jackson graduated was going to be pretty tough, and so we had to weather that storm. And I kind of felt like if we saw a great incoming class fall 24, then okay, this is going to work. We're going to be able to sustain this and go for it. I mean, you know, as a guy who's come through the Scottish system, you're constantly going up and going down, and there's promotion
Mhm.
and relegation. A lot of alums, even at UCSC, said, "Hey, why D1A? You probably just have to come back down again." Um, in the end, we got to fall 2024. We had 9 kids coming in, from great programs, and that really made a difference. And obviously they're young. They had a lot of development to do, but that was the first sign, like, hey, this might be sustainable. Go to the fall 2025, another incoming class comes in. again, a different crop of kids, but man, now we've got layer upon layer. And at this point, I think the fall 2026 is going to be really outstanding. I'm super
Mm.
excited. There's some international kids who applied, a bunch of great kids from California. I really feel like that's where we're starting to stack classes year on year on year on year. And I think
Yeah.
that's going to, that's when I told the kids from fall 2024, I said, look, by the time you guys are juniors, we will close that gap with some of the best teams in the country, and so just stick with it. And I think the other thing that's true about this program, and I've been doing this for 18 years, I've only seen two students transfer out of here. And both
Mm.
times it's for academics. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of consistency. The kids who join our program, they tend to stick. And we're always looking, 4 years, and just stack that experience. And I think that's a big piece of what we're doing.
Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, before we sign off here, is there anything else that we want to touch on before we go?
No, just reach out if you can. I think we're stoked for to tell everyone about our campus, to tell our academic programs. I think the key thing is I've told this to pretty much all the kids that we've talked with over the years, that UCSC is a special place, right? It's a public university, American Association of Universities, which is the top 77 most research active campuses. And so that means that this is, I think, is a really cool piece, is that, from whatever field you're looking at, whether it's the arts or something in the humanities or the STEM fields or business, your faculty are right at the cutting edge. They're producing leading edge research. They're in the classroom with you. They're trying to elevate you in the same way that we're trying to elevate our rugby players to be leaders and decision makers. They're working on developing you as a scholar, elevating from somebody who's acquiring knowledge to somebody who's using knowledge to solve problems. And I think rugby and research are like very similar, because you're constantly looking for gaps and trying to get through it.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's like a big piece of what we do here, is elevate our students. And I think it's just an awesome learning environment. Super collaborative. That's the other thing I'll say. It's like this place, a lot of first gen college students. We're a Hispanic serving institution. And what I've seen in the classroom is really collaborative learning environment. It's not cutthroat at all. People are really trying to pull each other up and push each other to be successful. So I think that's something about our culture as a learning institution, institution of higher education, that I think is really unique. I mean, I almost got weeded out of my university because it was just too cutthroat. Somebody was in the front row with a calculator and they were going to get the A and you weren't. And that's not like that at UCSC. So I think we got a great culture in the classroom, in the labs, off the pitch, on the pitch.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I would say that your future is pretty much set. Like if you want to play higher rugby, like there's opportunity for that, but you're basically guaranteed a job with the alumni that we have and the programs that we have in place. So, and in every industry, we have like successful alumni that are looking to give people jobs. So that was the biggest thing for me. I'm employed by an alumni as well as being a professional athlete. So that was a huge draw for me as well.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, guys, I just appreciate you taking the time today. If you are listening to this now, head on down to the show notes. We'll have slugrugby.com in there. We'll also have Jeremy's email. And you could follow Jackson along with the Chicago Hounds this year as well during the MLR season. But other than that, head on over to Next Phase Rugby, check out UCSC, and let's start that recruitment process. It's never too early. And so get after it right now. All right. Gentlemen, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Nate. I really appreciate it as well. Cheers.
Thanks for having us, Nate. Appreciate it.